Welcome to the nation. I'm John. Thank you very much for being here. Yeah, Trump. I'm sure that every single person watching this right now or listening to this, maybe a lot of y'all do prep and stuff while you're listening to it. And again, I appreciate that as well. I'm sure you've heard about Trump. I'm sure you've heard about the incident yesterday at the Trump rally. Um, we've talked about it on this channel many times before about the possibility of something like that happening. But to be honest with you, my initial reaction was surprise and shock. It's just not something that you're expecting. And I I remember thinking, okay, we're living history right now. You know what I mean? This is not necessarily a 9/11 moment, but people remember when the same thing was tried on President Reagan and so on and so forth. So history remembers events like this. And that was the first thing that I remember thinking was, again, there was the initial shock, and then there was, this is a historical moment right now. It's kind of like the world stops for a minute to try and adjust to what just happened and try and figure out what just happened. And then my second reaction, my second thought was who was behind it. I kind of feel a little guilty about thinking that so early on, probably 5 minutes after it happened. I wanted to know about the perpetrator, but more importantly, my mind started to wonder a little bit what group or what billionaires might potentially be behind it. And I know yesterday there was a lot of speculation on that. Was it a three-letter agency? Was it a billionaire? Was it an international deal? Was it deep state here, the swamp, if you will? And again, that's speculation. I really don't want to get into that too much because there's no way to know. You drive yourself crazy trying to figure that out. People are still looking at JFK, they're still investigating JFK, and they've not been able to figure out for sure what happened. But a couple of inches this way or this way, and we would have had another JFK style incident on our hands, and thank God we don't. Um, so I'm going to refer to they in this video, and I need to say this right out of the gates. When I say they, I'm not just trying to create a vague term and play off of paranoia. Again, when I say they, I don't really know what to call them. I don't know if we're talking about the CIA. I don't know if we're talking again about the deep state and the swamp. I don't know if we're talking about a foreign nation that tried to put this together. I don't really know, but I do know, or I feel in my heart at least, that we don't know the whole truth about this. Right? So, and here's what I mean by this. So, the perpetrator ends up being a 20-year-old boy, essentially a kid that had just graduated not so long ago. As a matter of fact, they used his high school yearbook photo. Okay. Not a professional whatsoever, no real training whatsoever. They're saying that the weapon was his father's and he actually just took it and decided to do this. But this guy got within 130 yards of the stage yesterday. And he was on top of a building or shed or something like that. And you begin to wonder, this is where it comes into play. You begin to wonder, is the Secret Service really just that incompetent? Or is there something bigger at work here? You know what I mean? An inside job, perhaps. I don't know. Again, I don't know what to call they. If I knew exactly who was behind it, I would point a finger right at him. But I don't know. I don't know if this is Russia. I don't know if this is China. I don't know if this is the deep swamp here in the United States. I don't know if this is globalists. I don't know if this is a three-letter agency. But again, I don't think this is just a 20-year-old kid with no training whatsoever getting this close to starting. I mean, folks, let's be honest. This would have likely started a civil war here in the United States almost immediately. So I have all of those questions. And again, I know you folks have theories. If you want to drop them in the chat or in the comment section, that's fine. I'm just leveling with you folks. I have so many theories right now. I don't know for sure. And I haven't seen any concrete evidence other than a yearbook photo and, oh, he didn't really have any kind of firearms training and he was good at mathematics. He won some kind of an award or something. But the other big question that I have is what happens next? I mean, I think that's a fair question. That's a big question to me. What happens next? Now that this thing is done and over with, and again, thankfully, Trump came out. He was hit. He was scraped and everything, but it seemed like the Secret Service on the stage, at least, did their job, and they neutralized the threat pretty quickly. Law enforcement did, but again, I don't know how somebody with that no experience, not even little experience, no experience, gets that close in broad daylight and is not seen somehow. So Trump yesterday, and this is why I went with the thumbnail art, after everything was said and done and they were trying to rush him off of the stage, he wanted to stay behind just momentarily so he could tell people to fight. That was his message yesterday, fight. And we're going to break that down in a second. But Trump today, he and his team put out, kind of a more thorough message. And I quote, "In this moment, it is more important than ever that we stand united. We will fear not." So I want to break these two statements down. Fight yesterday, again, that was in the heat of the moment. There were a lot of stuff happening all at once. I think it was probably an emotional statement by Donald Trump, but I think that was him telling his fan base, his voter base, and also whoever orchestrated this, we're going to continue to fight. He's telling the world, I'm not going to back down. It's too important that we get our country back on track. And his statement today, it's more important than ever that we stand united. To me, that seems like something that any presidential candidate should say, but I think that most of us know this country's not going to stand united, unfortunately. I wish that we could. I wish that we could go back to only caring about elections one day a year, shaking hands at the end of it, and going back to being Americans. But, folks, that's the country that we used to be. That is not the United States anymore. We have escalated to the point now. I mean, you folks have seen um, three-letter agencies have been used to raid this man. They've tried to ruin this man because he's a political opponent. In my opinion, that's why it was done. Nothing else was ever proven, right? Um, but that last part of today's statement, "We will fear not," I think that kind of shadows what he said yesterday when he said fight. He's telling the world, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. You're not going to stop me from getting my message out. You're not going to stop me from running for president of the United States. So what comes next? Honestly, I think he's going to gain a lot of support, at least short term, because I think, me personally, okay, y'all let me know what you think, but me personally, I don't think Biden was involved with this. I don't think he has the mental capacity to be involved. Now, were people around him involved with this? Again, I don't know. But I think Joe Biden himself, the political opponent, was not involved in this. And I think Trump knows this. And I really do think that Donald Trump believes there's a higher power somewhere that is orchestrating all of this stuff. And he's telling them, that's his statement to them. You're not going to stop me. Whoever you are, whether you're a shadow government, whether you're the cabal, whether you're whoever, you are not going to stop me from running for president of the United States. And as I was telling Dynamite yesterday, because he texted me, I'd just seen it moments before. People were commenting yesterday. Thank y'all, by the way, for leaving comments on yesterday's video. I had no idea yesterday when I posted that video, I said, things are about to get real sooner rather than later. I had no idea an hour later Trump was going to take a bullet. You know what I'm saying? So I was still kind of in shock and in questioning mode when Dynamite texted. And I told him I saw it. And I said, something to the effect of the train has left the station. You know what I mean? Folks, the fuse has been lit at this point. There's no coming together. I wish we could as Americans, but we're not going to. I think a lot of your independents, a lot of people that were lukewarm, liberals maybe, are going to sympathize with Trump, and they're going to say, this is ridiculous. This man is being persecuted at this point. And he may actually garner some more support this way. But things will not get better from here on out. And that's a very important message today. They're not going to get any better. They're not going to get any better from now until November. They're not going to get any better on some levels after November, even if Trump should get back into the White House. Okay? You may see inflation start to come down. You may be able to afford your livelihood once again. That part will be better. But there will be chaos on the back end of it. I mean, that part is not going away. So the questions that I have, how does this affect Donald Trump? I know he said he's going to continue to fight. Is he going to continue to hold rallies? Will the rallies be significantly different looking? Will there be less of them? You know what I mean? Because I feel like they're trying to stop this man any way they can at this point. Again, I'm not trying to be a vague term, but somebody's trying to stop this man from being president. Somebody very powerful. If he has rallies, will as many people show up now? Because you're assuming a risk at this point. Yesterday, several people were hit. One of them, unfortunately, passed away. Their sin, they were at a Trump rally, and they were an innocent bystander. And that's going to weigh heavy into the minds of some people that may want to go and be at the rally, but may step back and say, you know what, I don't know. It's not safe anymore. This sort of thing. To me, it's like a terrorist tactic almost. Somebody very rich, very powerful, does not want Donald Trump back into the White House. When you take a look, they have tried to silence this man. They've tried to silence him, right? They took his social media down on most of the major platforms. We don't want people to hear what you have to say. Then when that did not work, then they went to the judicial system and they tried to put the man in jail, right? He's still got to answer for some charges. I don't know how that's going to turn out, but they tried to put this man in a jail to get him out. They tried to legally remove him from some state ballots. That did not work. And now that nothing else has worked, all of a sudden somebody tried to take him out yesterday. Somebody who was woefully unqualified to even remotely carry out an act like that. And we are supposed to believe this was just a random 20-year-old throwing their life away because of disdain for Donald Trump. I'm sorry. I'm not buying that story. I'm not buying that story. They're trying to stop this man from running for president of the United States, whomever. They are not going to stop. And I fear that at some point, it's not just going to be him that's targeted. It's going to be supporters in public who begin to be targeted. This feels like a campaign to silence, because at the end of the day, and I think maybe he said this, okay, somehow or another, he's got a way of speaking about him, right? They're not just trying to silence Donald Trump. They're not just trying to stop Donald Trump. If you support Trump, they're trying to silence you. They're trying to stop you. They know he's one man. He's the figurehead of the movement, I guess, but they know he's just one man. They're afraid of the movement. They're afraid of all of this groundswell of people who are tired of it, who are going to be voting for Donald Trump. That's what they are trying to stop at all costs. That's why I know it is going to be nasty moving forward, because they did not accomplish what they set out to accomplish yesterday. And these people are relentless. Whomever they are, they're not going to stop. I hope you have been listening. I hope you have been preparing, because as I said, the fuse is lit. It's game on at this point, folks.